All right. This game has gone under the radar for a very long time. They've been quiet about it. The developers have been quiet about it. The only thing I see them doing most of the time is like congratulating other studios. They congratulated Rocksteady on release of Suicide Squad. They congratulated NetherRealms on the launch of Mortal Kombat 1. Then the last post before that was just them talking about hiring in April of last year. It's been over a year. They've only talked about hiring, and that's all you see. Job offers, all of that stuff. They congratulated Avalanche Software on the launch of Hogwarts Legacy, and so on and so forth. Now, I think this quietness is a little eerie. Yeah, look, they also congratulated Gotham Knights developers, WB Montreal. They're a Warner Brothers studio. But the game has been super quiet for a long time. Since we saw the reveal trailer at that Game of the Year award, we haven't really seen much from the developers at Monolith. Now, I'm looking forward to the game itself. For many of you who may or may not know, this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of bored and I'm looking at the gaming industry right now. If I get a good superhero game to play that's not going to give me Spider-Man vibes, I'll be happy to play it. I'll be happy to explore. I'll be able to happy to check it out. I'm trying to play the two Middle-earth games, but as a dad with young kids, I don't want my kids to see me, I don't know, man. I don't want them to see me beheading orcs and, slashing their guts open. So it's kind of hard to find some time to play. However, the superhero games are a little bit more friendly to the eyes in that regard. And I'm waiting for Wonder Woman. Spider-Man was disappointing to me. I just literally abandoned the game. The disc is still here. I just played it and got to the point where I was like, what the heck am I playing? I don't know. Perhaps maybe I'm getting a little older and, I just don't have a lot of time for nonsense. For those of you who are much younger than I am, as a millennial who's probably pushing another, phase of life, my tolerance level for BS is getting more and more minimal. So again, don't judge me based on, how you perceive these things and just, see my ways as cranky old man cynicism in some cases when you can't understand how I see these things. The one thing I wanted to say about this game is I hope this game is actually good. You see, for the last few years, we've been getting a lot of these games that have given games journalists given them some reason to run crazy. Regardless of how things are. And now that, this game is being developed post Elden Ring, I just don't know what to think anymore. I went from excited to skeptic to looking at all this drama going on with the whole DEI, Sweet Baby, Cabrutus, and all that stuff. And it's really affecting games. Like, gamers are making these very strong statements. And developers, I don't know if they're paying attention, if they're actually making modifications accordingly, or if they're interested in actually just making a solid game. Because the way they can actually avoid all this stuff is they just focus on their audience and make a game for their audience. Here's where my fear is. I don't think this company actually understands or knows the audience it's targeting with the Wonder Woman game. There are a lot of fears here. I guess concerns. I shouldn't say fears. What am I afraid of? I'm not the one that, I'm not the one that's in charge of making the game. You know what I mean? And if the game is not, to be very honest, I like for the game to be good. But at this point, I've been moving more and more to indifference, if you get what I mean. Because again, a lot of other third-party developers from all over the world are making some really good games that are resonating with gamers. So it's not like we're lacking a game to play. I mean, sure, it's just a superhero game that I'm not going to be able to get my hands on. But I have the old Arkham games. I have a series of old superhero games that I can always dial into and play from time to time. But again, this marks a huge precipice for Warner Brothers. Man, precipice, I've been using that word lately a lot. But Warner Brothers has something to actually, prove in this regard. They really have to bring what's called the A game to be able to wipe away the stain of the Suicide Squad game that it left on the industry from a story perspective. And this is my own focus. You see all of the drama going on around everywhere. Yeah, whatever. But I'm here to talk about the content, to talk about the story, to talk about, how fans are going to be treated when the writers and when the creatives actually tell the story about the game in terms of the Wonder Woman, lore and all of the above. You see, I don't know exactly what's going to happen in this case. I'm not necessarily the kind that would sit here and theorize about a Wonder Woman game. Yeah, she's probably one of my favorite characters, but, somewhere in the top 5. But I have other superheroes that I would probably, simply sit there and just theorize about based on their lore. So what I want to do is I'll just leave this one for the developers to just work with, However, I hope that they do not go and mess things up and pull a Suicide Squad from a story perspective, or do something that subverts expectations of fans, or do something that would disrupt the way the higher demographics that will more than likely play the Wonder Woman game would go. There are already talks about the consultation with firms that are not necessarily in the development phase, firms that are their job is to help with narrative design, and those firms seemingly are not too fond of gamers. And if those firms are seen anywhere close to these games, the game is already going to have on its hands a very interesting PR situation to deal with. That's number one. That already can affect the game sales. Number two, when we think about how even other people who may not necessarily engage in such drama publicly will privately just go and take the hint and then act accordingly with their wallet, you know that this is something that no one can actually deny these days. Let me give you guys the example. Sure, I've seen some people say things like, well, these conversations about people online about the games and all that is only a fringe minority of gamers that are actually talking about it, but that's not true. You see, it's a small minority that are talking about it, but it's a lot of people that are acting upon it. Example will be Concord. This is when I knew that these PlayStation players, deep down inside, most of the hardcore PlayStation fanboys, deep down inside of you is a based human being, right? But somehow, because you're so loyal to the box, you forget, that baseness from time to time. You didn't buy Concord. Why didn't you buy Concord? I didn't hear most of you talk much about it, but why didn't you buy Concord? Even some of your PlayStation fanboy channels, they bought Concord, but you were looking at them going, why are they playing this game? Why were you looking at them weird? It's that based person in you that didn't want to basically say anything, but you knew that product was definitely not for you. I just hope that this particular Wonder Woman game from Monolith does not end up in that category as the game not for me. Because if that's the case, people are just going to go back and maybe play the old copies of the games that, they have and they made, and then they're going to be forgotten. What's even crazy is it's been a while since they've made a game. Their last game that came from this development studio was Middle-earth: Shadow of War, and that was in 2017. That game also did not have the best rep. So as much as, a long time has passed, it's still not long enough to forget a lot of the things that did go wrong in their development cycle. Do y'all even remember what happened with Middle-earth: Shadow of War? They had the store. Did y'all remember? Yeah, they had the store in the game that they made time savers. Warner Brothers made them put monetized aspects into their game like they did with they do with the Assassin's Creed games, because they have someone who's actually leading their gaming division has once been cited as saying that they want to bring their games closer in line with what Ubisoft has been doing in the live service area. This is why you guys saw, Suicide Squad. This is not, I see a lot of people talking about, all this stuff, but no. This is an executive mandate. So there are just many areas that can actually go awry with this game, judging by how other games that have come out have been, really interesting and weird. And I'm hoping that the developers are able to be sensible in this area. They have the creative capabilities. We're rooting for you guys. Those of us in the superhero space, we're rooting for you guys. Don't let us down. I've just seen the industry the last 2 years, the way it transformed. I could not believe how fast it could. But again, knowing gamers are a very peculiar kind of customer. They're not like any customer out there. They're not like any customer or consumer out there. So let that be something that, we keep in mind at the end of the day. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.